Hello! This video is 6th grade covering area of polygons, modules 13.2 to 13.3. That will be pages number 377 to 386 in the math book. So if you need to pause the video, go right ahead and get your math book, and we will be starting on page 380. So I'll see you in a couple moments. Okay, welcome back. I'm just going to adjust the clarity here. Remember on the last video, I showed you how to derive the equations for the parallelogram, the trapezoid, and the rhombus. So today we will be talking about triangles. So I wanted to do a demonstration for you and show you how the formula for a triangle is derived. To begin with, we have a rectangle here. And if you remember, the area formula for a rectangle is base times height. Base times the height. That's also the formula for a parallelogram. If you need to go back to the first video and watch that, you're welcome to do that to see how we derive that equation. So now today with the triangles, I'd like to first take a ruler here and make a diagonal completely across the center of my rectangle. Then what I'd like to do, I'm also going to write H on this side because we know that that height is the same height on both sides of a rectangle. I'm going to cut this in half right along the line. And you can see that I have two triangles now. And you can also see, I get this exactly right, there we go, that these triangles are exactly the same size. If I was to put them back together, we know that the formula for the rectangle is base times height. So what do you think the formula would be to find the area of a triangle? Well, we know that we have the base times the height. Area is equal to base times the height, but that's for a rectangle. But notice that when I do this, I have now half of the rectangle. So the area for a triangle is half times the base times the height. So that's it. That is how you derive the area of a triangle. Area equals 1/2 base times height. Okay, hi, I'm back. So today we are going to be covering lesson 13.2 and 13.3, and it will cover standard G1. I can find the area of a triangle and different quadrilaterals and solve real-world area problems. So that's what we'll be working on today. So let me bring up page 380. So if you need to pause the video and turn to that page, go right ahead. Otherwise, we're going to jump right in and get started today. So first things first, I would like to remember our formulas and get those on the screen for us because they're going to come in handy. So let's bring those right here. And just so you know, I have a dog, so you may hear him barking. He barks a lot, especially if the mailman goes by. So just have to bear with that. Okay, so the formula for a parallelogram, if we remember that from the last video, area equals base times height. Very good. The area for a trapezoid is equal to area equals, remember that? What is it? Got it right here. 1/2 the height times base 1 plus base 2. And if you forget how we derive that, go back and look at video 1 and you will see how we got to that point. And then we have the rhombus. The area for a rhombus was equal to, anybody remember? Right, we had diagonal 1, right? And I'm going to put those in parentheses. It'll make it a little bit easier. And then we had diagonal 2, but we had half of diagonal 2. I'm just going to put the 1/2 in front of both because we're multiplying, so it doesn't matter what order we put the numbers in the formula in. So now we also know the area of a triangle. Triangle, the area is equal to 1/2 base times height. So I'm going to leave those there. I feel that those are going to be helpful as we go through, try to remember what we're doing here. So let's get us started. The first problem over here, and I'll grab my little spotlight, we have the area of a triangle, and they want us to figure out what that area is. They're giving us the base, and they're giving us the height. So we're going to put that into our equation here. They're giving us the 1/2. So what is the base? Which one's the base? 14, correct. Let's put that in there. Move it around a little so it fits. And then the height is 8, correct. Okay, put the 8 in there. See if we get that to fit good. Now, how do we solve it? I'm going to go back over here. And we know that the area is going to be 1/2 times 14 times 8, right? Area equals. So now what I would like to do, and I'm going to grab my notebook here and my book, I would like to multiply the 14 times 8 first. So area equals 1/2 times, and go ahead and try, what's 14 times 8? Right, 112. Good job if you did that at home. All right, now I have area equals, now how do I solve this? Now we got to kind of go back to our fractions unit to figure that out. So I'm going to draw a 1/2. Told you my dog barks a lot. Times, I wonder if any of you guys have dogs out there. 112, and I'm going to put the 112 over a 1. It's ringing a bell now as far as how to solve with fractions. So now I see that I have 1 times 112 across the top, 2 times 1 across the bottom. However, I can, and I'll use a different color here, I can cancel because I can divide 112 by 2. And if you can't figure out what that is, you could always do it like this, long division, 112 divided by 2, and you would get 2 times 5 is 10. You would bring that down. We'll go through more log division in a little bit. Bring down the 2, 6. 56. It's a bad 56, but 56. So 2 will go into 112, 56 times. 2 will go into itself 1 time. So now my answer is, area is 56 on top and 1 on the bottom. And you can just drop the 1 because 56 over 1 is really just 56. So my answer up here in my book is 56, and it's inches squared. I want to point that out here. Just grab a circle here. I want to point out that inches squared. That means that this triangle, and I'll grab my spotlight, this triangle here can fit 56 square inches inside of its flat surface. That's a square the size 1 inch by 1 inch will fit inside. So always when you're talking about area, you're talking about inches squared. I said I would bring my dog down at some point. Maybe when he settles down, I'll bring him down at the end of the lesson today. Willie, come on down. No? Okay. He doesn't want to. Anyways, I'm going to erase that. Okay, so that's the answer to number 1. The area is 56 inches squared. Go ahead and pause the video if you need to get that written down, and then we're going to go on to number 2. Okay, I am going to erase. I didn't want to erase our formulas. Let me hit undo. Erase too much. There's our formulas. Okay, try that again. Try to just get rid of what I need to get rid of here. It got rid of them again on me. I'll just put them back. Well, we'll put them back for later because we'll use them again. But right now we're just doing the triangle. I'll just put the triangle one back. So area of a triangle equals 1/2 BH, base times height. We'll leave that in there for now. Okay, number 2, let's take a look at it. A little bit of clean white space. A pennant in the shape of a triangle has a base of 12 inches and a height of 30 inches. What is the area of the pennant? So I'm going to grab my underlining tool again. Remember, if you're doing word problems, I'd rather have that be red. You want to underline your numbers in your problem. 12 inches and 30 inches. And the question is asking for the area of the pennant. So now, it's always a good idea with geometry to label your drawings. So it tells us our base is 12 inches. So I'm going to label my base 12. And in our case, the base is sideways, right? This is a sideways triangle. So the base is actually right here. That's our base, right there. Now, as far as the height goes, would you say that this is the height? No, exactly. When you measuring the height of a triangle, you are measuring the straight down line, straight down to the bottom, and you make a perpendicular line from the top of the triangle to where it forms a 90-degree angle at the base. So that little rectangle I put there, that symbolizes a 90-degree angle. So that is a perpendicular line. That is our height, and that we're going to label our 30. So it's not the angled side of the triangle. It is the straight up and down line that we draw. That's the height of the triangle. And move it down a little bit. Move it down there a little bit. There. Okay. So now we just plug into our formula. So we have 1/2 is already there for us. So we put our base in, 12. And now it's a little small. And then we have our height, which was 30. Okay. And then our inches squared is going to be 12 times 30. I will actually do that over here on the right. 12 times 30. I'm drawing like this. There's a reason why I put the 30 on the bottom. There is a shortcut. So if you're going to multiply this 0 times the 2 and the 0 times the 1, you're just going to get a row of zeros, right? So the shortcut is if you put the number with the zeros on the bottom, you can just put a 0 here, And then you can just go right ahead and start multiplying the other number. So 3 times 2 is 6, and 3 times 1 is, oops, not 1, 3. 3 times 1 is 3. There we go, 3. So now we are not quite done, because if you remember, and I'll grab my spotlight, this 1/2 has to be multiplied by the 12 times 30. So we did the 12 times 30. Now we have to multiply by 1/2. So we have 360, and I'm going to put that over 1 because we're dealing with fractions, times 1/2. And now I'm going to pull down my thing for a moment. Okay, so now I'm going to change colors here. We can divide a 2 into 360 and cancel. So we're going to cancel. Now, what would 2 divided into 360 become? Well, if you don't know, you can go over here and you can do log division. 360 divided by 2. 2 goes into 3 one time. 2 times 1 is 2. Remember, does McDonald's serve burgers? We divided, we multiplied. Now we're going to subtract. 3 minus 2 is 1. And then burgers bring down. So we're going to bring down a 6. Now we go back to does McDonald's serve burgers? 2 divided by 16. The does is divide. 2 goes into 16. 8 times. 2 times 8, that's the multiply. Does McDonald's? 2 times 8 is 16. 16 minus 16, that's the serve or subtract. And then bring down. We have a 0. We have to bring it down. We haven't finished yet. So bring down our 0. And we have to say again, how many 2's go into 0? 0 2's. 2 times 0 is 0. Subtract for the final time. 0 minus 0 is 0. So if we were to cancel 360 and divide it by 2, we would get 180. And if we divided 2 by itself, we would get 1. So now we have 180 times 1 on top. And we have 1 times 1 on the bottom. So 180 over 1 is really just 180. So we're going to put that in. 180 inches squared. There we go. 180 inches squared. Move that over just a little bit. There we go. So you're welcome to pause the video, fill in your notebook and your math book page there if you'd like. And when you're ready, we're going to clear the screen and we're going to move on. And the last question here is how, oh, where'd it go? There we go. How do you find the area of a triangle? That's really easy. You just rewrite the formula. So you would just write area equals 1/2 base times height. That's all you have to put for number 3. All right. Now I would like for us to turn to, I believe it's 386. Yes, 386. I'm going to bring that up. And we're going to look at 386. Now is where I want to put back those formulas because they're going to come in handy. Hopefully, they won't disappear on us again. So a parallelogram is equal to area equals base times height. The trapezoid area equals 1/2 height times base 1 plus base 2. Make that a little bigger again. The area of the rhombus area is equal to, I'm going to put the 1/2 in the front, and then it's diagonal 1 times diagonal 2, and then the triangle. Area is equal to 1/2 base times height. It's not a bad idea to review that anyhow. Okay, well, hopefully those will stay where we want them to now. So let's take a look here at our number 1 question. A triangular band has an area of 70 square inches. So I'm going to try to draw that right there. The height of the triangle is 8 3/4 inches. Write and solve an equation. So we have to write an equation and solve it to find the length of the base of the, and it says triangle. So with geometry, again, it's a good idea to get a picture. So we're going to draw a triangle, and I'm going to put that over here. I want to insert an illustration, a shape, and I want to find a triangle. Here we go. Let's make a nice triangle here. And let's wrap it so we can move it wherever we would like it to be on the page. There we go. Okay, so we know the area. So I'm actually going to move this down a little bit. So maybe I have to move it. Maybe I'll move it over here so we can work on this side. Okay, the area is equal to 1/2 the base times the height. The area is given to us. If you look back at the problem, it's 70 is equal to 1/2. I'm just going to plug in the numbers. And they tell us the height. So we're looking for the base. So I'm going to put the height in there, 8 3/4. And then I'm going to write B. I'm going to put a times between each of these so we know that we're timesing these. And I'm going to label my triangle here. So I know that my height right there is 8 3/4. And what I want to do is I just want to put 1/2 height times base so we don't get messed up, but so we know what that is. 1/2 height times base. And this is our height. This is our base. Put a little times in between there. And line that up. Okay, so you can see where the numbers are coming from. And then our base is our question mark. So we're going to put that right down here. That is our question mark. We do not know what that is. That's what we're trying to find out. But we do know the area. And the area of the whole thing, area is equal to 70 square inches. So inches with a little 2. I don't know if I can make a little 2. Inches squared, we'll say. So we know the area of the whole thing. Okay. Now, we've plugged in our numbers into our formula. Now we got to use a little algebra to figure out how to get the B. So we have a 70 equals. Now I'm going to take my 1/2 times 8 3/4. So we got to remember our fractions unit. How do we multiply a fraction by a mixed number? I'm going to actually draw that here so we can see what we're doing. We have 1/2 times now 8 3/4. So 8 3/4. But we can't multiply yet because we have to change our mixed number into an improper fraction. So here's where we get to sing our song. Whole number times the bottom plus the top, clap, clap. Whole number times the bottom plus the top, clap, clap. Whole number times the bottom plus the top, clap, clap. And you know the rest. So whole number times the bottom plus the top. 8 times 4, 32, plus 3 more, 33, 34, 35. So 35, oh, like that. 35 on the top, whole number times the bottom plus the top. What's my bottom number? Exactly, 4. Stays the same. And then we still have our 1/2. And we're going to multiply the two together. Now, can I cancel anything? Is there anything I can cancel? Can I put a 2 into 35? No, I cannot. So I basically just have to multiply across. 1 times 35 is 35. 2 times 4 is 8. Okay, all of that, and I still, grab my thing again, I still have my b that we have to figure out yet. So now I'm going to go to down a little bit here and see if I can, I didn't like that, moved it, didn't want it to move it. So now if I might have to move it. So we're going to do 70 equals, we have the 1/2 times 8 3/4, which is now 35 over 8 times b. Or we're just going to put the b next to it because that means times. Now, I'm going to have to clear some of this. Okay. Clear that and move down a little bit. So we are now at 70 equals 35/8 b. Now I'm going to go back to drawing this. So if I have 70 equals 35, and just so you guys know, I'm a lefty and my mouse is a righty, so I'm doing pretty good writing with my right hand. And 8, and then I have this b. Now you probably remember this back from last year. We haven't really covered that yet this year, but we have to get the b by itself. So to do that, I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal of the coefficient in front of the b. The coefficient is the number 35/8 in front of the b. So remember how to find the reciprocal? You take the bottom number and make it the top. So the 8 that's on the bottom is now going to be on the top. And you take the top number and make it the bottom. You basically flip it. So the 35 goes on the bottom. Now, doing that, watch what happens. I now can cancel my 35s and my 8s. And I'm left with just 1. And I can't just multiply by the reciprocal to one side of the equals. I have to multiply by the reciprocal to the other side of the equals. I have to do the same exact thing to both sides. So I'm going to multiply by 8 over 35. Now I'm just going to put this 70 over a 1 so I can see where I'm canceling and what I'm doing. So now I'll be able to cancel because I see that 35 and 70, there is a number that will go into both of those. Can you think of which number that would be? So at least a 7, right? 70 divided by 7 is going to give me 10. And 35 divided by 7 is going to give me, right, 5. But do you notice that I can still cancel further? So there's another, I probably had a bigger number that could have gone into there. So 5 into 10 will give me 2. And 5 into itself will give me 1. So now what I'm left with is just, on the left side here, I'm left with 8 times, what's left? What's that purplish number supposed to be? It looks like a Z, but it's really supposed to be a 2. 8 times 2 And on the bottom, I'm left with 1 times 1, or 1. That is all equal to, don't forget we have our b. We crossed off everything else. We're left with just a b, a 1b or a b. Now, one more step. We have to figure out what 8 times 2 is. Yep, 16. So b then is really just equal to 16. So we found out the answer, the base of our triangle. Base is equal to 16, and it's in inches. 16 inches. Here we go. There. Base is 16 inches. If you are wondering whether you got the right answer, you could go back in, and if I go back up to my triangle here, which isn't labeled anymore, let's just clear. If you go back up to your triangle, you can take the base, which is now, we know, is 16, times the height, which was given in the problem as 8 3/4, and you could plug that into the formula for finding the area of a triangle. 1/2 the base, 16 times 8 3/4. And then you could see if your answer comes out to 70 right here, which is what they said in the problem that the area was. If it does, then you know you did it right and you've got the correct base calculation. Okay, so if you need to pause the video while I'm erasing, feel free to do that. I'm going to go on to the next one here right now. Okay, scroll down here and start a new one. Let's look at number 2. The top of a desk, remember we're going to underline what we need to, is shaped like a trapezoid. Okay, that's going to be important, trapezoid. The bases of the trapezoid are 26.5 and 30 centimeters long. The area of the desk is 791 square centimeters. The height of the trapezoid is the width of the desk. Write and solve an equation to find the width of the desk. So basically, we're trying to find the missing height. Height is equal to width in our situation with this problem. So that's what we're looking for. Now, since all my area stuff disappeared again, what's the area of a trapezoid formula? Is equal to area equals, you know what? 1/2 height times B1 plus B2. And make that go across the top. Okay, so now we have to plug in what we know. First, let's bring out a trapezoid so we can label a trapezoid. So I want to bring a trapezoid shape out here. There's a nice one right there. So let's bring us a nice trapezoid and wrap it so we can move it if needed. Let's label what we know. So we know the height. Actually grab my line. Height is the straight down. What is the height? We don't know it, do we? So that's our question mark. Okay, right there. And we know base 1. Base 1 is, go back to the problem, the shorter base is 26.5. I'm going to use a text box. 26.5. Right there. And the bigger base is, go back to the problem, 30 centimeters. Make that smaller. And we also know the area. And the area tells us in the problem, 791 equals the area. Okay, so now it's a matter of plugging in the formula to what we know. Down a little ways here. So we know the area. Area equals 1/2 height times B1 plus B2. 791 is equal to 1/2, and I'm going to move the height and take it out of here, and I'm going to move it to the end because with multiplying, it doesn't matter what order things are put in. I'm going to put it at the end since it's what we're looking for. We do know B1, 26.5 plus 30. And that brings me to my, I can't resist. We have to add our 26.5 and our 30. And I would like to bring up this song for a minute. Remember
now
this.
what in the world is that itty bitty dot? Yo, I just can't remember and it's making me distraught. I saw it in the price of the item I just bought. It's the decimal point. Yeah, now you're getting caught. When you add and subtract them, there must be a rule. So listen to my rhyme and use it as a tool. Just line up
The dot, give it all you got. Line up the dot, give it all you got.
and when you take the difference,
Go ahead and
in other
sing at
words,
home.
action, just use the same rule and bring on the action. Just
Line up the dot, give it all you got. Line up the dot, and give it all you got.
So turn off the TV.
All right, we'll go back to what we were on. All right, so I couldn't resist. And this is not what I want. I want my word up. There, okay. So now let's line up our dot and give it all we got and add up 26.5 plus 30. So where do I put the 30? If I'm going to put it somewhere, how do I do it? Well, line up the dot. There's no dot in 30. Where would I assume the dot to be? After the 30. So 30 dot decimal point. We can put a 0 there if we want, just to keep everything matched up. And we can add. So we have 5 plus 0 is 5. Line our dot up. 6 plus 0 is 6. 2 plus 3 is 5. So now I'll go back up here to my formula. So 791 is equal to 1/2 times 56.5 times h. Are you with me? This is a long one. Stick with me. Next, I have to multiply, grab my spotlight, 1/2 times 56.5. Now for me, it would be easier for me to change my 1/2 into a decimal. So how would you change 1/2 into a decimal? What is 1/2 in decimals? Remember that? It should be 0.5 or 0.5. So we're going to do 0.5 times 56.5 times h. Make it a little easier for ourselves. So now I'm going to make a little bit of room here. We're going to erase some of this so we can have a little workspace. Okay, now we're going to multiply 56. Now we got to use our decimals to multiply them together. This is really good practice from what we did a couple weeks ago with our decimal unit. And the one before that was a good review of fractions. So 56.5 times 0.5. Now remember, when you're multiplying decimals, you don't line up the dot. I'm going to fix that. But you still give it all you got, right? But you don't line up the dot. So that's better. Got a straight line there. And now I think I'll just put a little X and get that in there. There we go. Now, let's multiply together. 5 times 5 is 25. Put down the 5. Carry the 2. 5 times 6 is 30. Plus 2 more. 32. Put down the 2. Carry the 3. 5 times 5 is 25, plus 3 more, 26, 27, 28. Now I got to figure out where to put my decimal. Remember, when multiplying, you multiply first, get your answer, and then you figure out where to put the decimal. So we look back at the first problem. There's one number after the decimal. Go to the second number. There's one number after the decimal. So my decimal starts at the end of the number. A different color here. And I have to have 2 jumps to the left. 1, 2. Back to my red. And it lets me put my dot right there. 28.25. Okay, stay with me. We're not quite done. So now we have 791 is equal to 28.25 times the h. Correct? So now we have to do something to the 28.25. Does anybody remember what we did to the last problem? Okay, so what we're going to need to do is get h by itself, and I'm going to do that by dividing 28.25 by itself. 28.25, but I can't just do that to one side of the equation. I also have to do that to the other side of the equation. So I'm going to divide 28.25 to the other side as well. Keep the equals in there so we know. Okay, so now I have 791 divided by 28.25 on one side of my equals. Try to line those equals up. And then I have 28.25 divided by 28.25 on the other side. So grab my color here. 28.25 divided by itself cancels out to 1. So any number times 1 is just the number. So we know that we're going to end up with just an h on the one side of the equals. Now we have to do 700. Let me grab my spotlight. 791 divided by 28.25. Oh, this is a long one, isn't it? So we're going to erase this so we have a little bit of workspace room here now that we're done with that one. Now we have to do long division. We can do it. We're almost there. Oh, I want it to be red, not that color. So long division, we make our house. Now we ask ourselves, which number, 791 or 28.25, which number goes on the inside? Always the numerator. I heard somebody say that out there in Cyberland. 791 divided by 28.25. Now, remember when we divide decimals, that's why this problem is excellent for review. We have to move the decimal if we have it right here on the outside number, right? So to move it, I'm going to use my purple again. I have to get it to the end of the number. 1, 2 jumps, which also means I need to move the decimal in my other number. 2 jumps. And where is the decimal? There isn't a decimal here, but we can assume it's after the number, right? So then if I jump 2, because I have to jump 2 from where the decimal is, 1, 2, my decimal now goes right here. And I'm going to get rid of it here. Well, first, before I do that, we have to fill in our 2 jumps with something. So let's fill it in with our zeros. 1, 2. And now I will erase where the decimal used to be because now it is no longer there. It is there. And I want to extend my line out a little bit further because we have a long division problem here. And now we also can get rid of the decimal here because we've moved it now. And now it's a matter of dividing 2,825 by 79,100. Okay, so that's a big problem. So let's start by saying, well, how many 2,825s will go into 7? Let me get my spotlight, it's easier to see. Will go into 7? None, right? How many 2,825s will go into 79? None. How many 2,825s will go into 791? None. How many 2,825s will go into 7,910? That is the number we have to take it into. So our answer is going to start over the 0. So I look at 2,825 and in my head I say, well, that's close to 3,000. And this 7910 is close to 8,000. So if I count by threes, 3, 6, 9, that's over, right? So probably 2, maybe? So let's try 2. So then we got to go on the side of our paper somewhere, and we have to multiply 2, 8, 2, 5. That's a bad 5. 2, 8, 2, 5. Make a better 5. It's big, but it's better. Times 2. Let's see if that is as close as we can get to 7,910. 2 times 5 is 10. Carry the 1. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. 2 times 8 is 16. I think I should sing, huh? While we're doing all this hard work. And 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 more is 5. 5. Okay, don't turn me off. It's okay. All right, 2825 times 2 is 5,650. If I was to add another 2,825, I would be over. So the answer is going to be 2. So does McDonald's serve burgers? I divided. Now I'm going to multiply. 2,825 times 2 gives me 5,000. Don't go to sleep on me. 650. Just like that. And now I subtract. 0 minus 0 is 0. Can't take a 5 from a 1, so I have to cross off. I'll use a different color so we don't get all mixed up with what we got going on here. This becomes an 8. And this becomes an 11. 11 minus 5 is 6. 8 minus 6 is 2. 7 minus 5 is 2. I'm not done. Now I did does McDonald's and I did subtract, serve. Now I have to do burgers, bring down. We have another 0 to bring down. And now I'm going to clear this out so we don't have so much stuff here to look at. Okay. Now we have to take 2,825 into 22,600. So it's about 3,000, and this is about 22,000. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21. So about 7, right? So I think it's going to be 7. So let's try 7. Might be 8. Let's try 8. I don't know if it's 7 or 8, but it's got a 0 on the end, so I'm gonna bet on the 8. So let's go like this, and we're gonna times it by 8 and see what we get. 5 times 8 is 40. Carry the 4. 2 times 8 is 16 plus 4. 17, 18, 19, 20. Carry the 2. 8 times 8 is 64, plus 2 more, 65, 66. I think we got the right one. And then we have 2 times 8 is 16, plus 6, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So we get 22,600. Voila, that's our number. So we are going to put an 8 up here. And 25 times 8 gives us 22,600. And if we subtract that, we end up with a 0. Okay. So let's get rid of some of this excess here. Just have the essentials. Okay. So we know now that 791 divided by 28.25 is 28. So let's go back to our original problem here. I gotta move it back. Where were we? Go back. Is this the old one? This is the old one. We want the other one up. How come that one was gone? 386. There we are. Okay, so back to our original problem. We were trying to find the height or the width. And we did. H is our height. So the answer is the height slash width equals 28. And we got to look what it used. It used centimeters. So 28 centimeters. Phew, that was a big one, wasn't it? Thank you for sticking with me on that problem. Okay, now we're almost done. I'm going to clear away some of this. If you need to pause for a moment and get this written down, go right ahead. I'm going to clear, going, gone. Okay, we're going to move on from there. Fresh page here. And let's look at number 3. Taylor wants to paint his rectangular deck that, hold on a minute. Okay. Taylor wants to paint his rectangular deck that is 42 feet long. So I better underline that, 42 feet long and 28 feet wide. A gallon of paint covers 350 square feet. How many gallons of paint will Taylor need to cover the entire deck? Write an equation to find the missing blank is going to be, we first got to find the area of the rectangle. Write an equation to find the area of the deck. And then write and solve an equation. Well, we can write an equation. We know the area of a rectangle is equal to length times width, or base times height, which we've been using base times height at the moment because it goes well with our parallelogram. So that is what we will use. And then we have to solve that. So I'm going to come over here to the right where I got a little more room. Area is equal to base, 42 feet long, times my height or width, 28. Okay. So now I have to multiply 42 times 28. So if you want to try to beat me ahead and multiply that out, feel free to do that on your paper there while you're waiting for me to come up with the answer. 42 times 28. And 2 times 8 is 16. Carry the 1. 4 times 8 is 32, plus 1 is 33. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 4 is 8. We add that all together, and we get 6 plus nothing is 6. 4 plus 3 is 7. 8 plus 3 is 11. So 1176 is the area, and that's written in feet squared. Remember, area is always squared because we're talking about how many squares fit into a shape. So there's 1,176 feet squared. So write an equation Did this move on us again? I think it did. No. Write an equation to find the number of gallons of paint is what I'm going to put. Believe that is what they want us to put there. I'm going to double check that. Yes, number of gallons of paint. Number of gallons of paint. Okay. So how are we going to figure out how many gallons of paint we need? Well, we have to go back to the other number in our problem. We have 350 square feet to, the paint gallon will cover. So now I'm going to put our area is equal to 1,176 feet squared right there. So I can erase it over here so that we have more room to work. So I'm going to get rid of all of this up here. We calculated it out. Let's erase that. Okay, now we have to do division. How do I know that? I'm going to make a line, straight line. So let's do that. Oops. Okay. 1,176 divided by 350 square feet per gallon. Okay, it's a division problem. And I'm going to say how many 350s will go into 1? None. How many 350s go into 11? None. How many 350s go into 117? None. How many 350s go into 100, 100, and 1,176? So we know we're going to be starting our answer right there. So now I got to kind of go off on the side here and multiply out. 350 times 2 is 700, so times 4 would be 1,400. So that's probably too many. So let's try 3. So I was kind of using estimation in my head. 3 times 0 is 0. It's a bad 0. Erase it. Try again. 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 5 is 15. Carry my 1. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10. If I were to add another 350 to that, I would definitely be over. So it is going to be 3. We divided, McDonald's, multiplied, 1050. And that looks like a 6. It's supposed to be a 0. Fix it. Some of you at home can be already calculating this out. Subtract. Does McDonald's serve, right? 6 minus 0 is 6. 7 minus 5 is 2. 1 minus 0 is 1. I'm left with 126. I could always put a decimal point there and put a 0 and bring it down. And now I would say how many 350s go into 1,260? It's probably going to be 3 something. So I can stop there because the question is asking me how many gallons of paint are they going to need, right? So I know that it's going to be at least 3 and some more. So if I want to be on the safe side and not run out of paint, how many gallons am I going to get? Correct, 4. I should get 4. So that way I'll have a little bit left over from the 4th gallon, but I won't run out. Right? Okay. All right, that was a rough one. All those questions. I'm going to clear this. So if you need to pause the video, go ahead. 1, 2, 3. Gone. Okay. The very last question, let's see what that one is. I'm going to move myself out of the way. How do you use equations to solve problems about area of rectangles, parallelograms, trapezoids, and triangles? How do you do it? You plug in what you know to the proper area formula. and then solve, and then solve. And the solving was the long part, right? Yeah. Okay, that was a lot. I'm going to scroll up here to the homework. Let's move this up one so we're all on the same page. Okay, so your homework is going to be reading through pages 377 and 380 and 383 to 386. And then you're going to complete the your turn problems that you find in those pages. Go back over the guided practice that we just did on this video, and then we are going to do homework, page 381 to 382, number 4 through 14. There's 10 problems there. And 387 to 388, 5 through 14, there's 9 problems there. So I'm giving you 19 problems, and I would like to give you a couple days to get that done because some of those are longer problems. And then our next session will be a live session where we can talk about the homework from these 2 pages plus the pages I gave you from the previous lesson, which would have been page number, let me look what I gave you, 375, numbers 5 through 15. That would have been what I gave you prior to that. So there'll be 3 pages to go over. So I would, when I'm going through my homework, I would star the problems. Let me just stop sharing here. There I am. I would star the problems that you, a little bit high here, that you really, really want to ask questions about, because our in-person sessions are going to be limited to a 35-ish minute time frame, I believe no longer than 40. So I would pick 2 problems that you really, really want to ask a question about. And maybe some of your classmates that are on will ask the same question, so then you'll all get your question answered with that one problem. But I would just pick 1 or 2 that you could star and then ask questions about. So if you have any questions or you need additional assistance, don't hesitate to email me. I'm also on Instagram. You have my phone number. You can text me. I'm available to you to help you to learn. And I hope you have a good rest of the day or evening or whenever you're watching this. And we will see you next time. Bye.